Gemini is without a doubt one of the most powerful AI chatbots that has ever been created. But while some people are getting incredible results with it, others are just left underwhelmed. And the difference really comes down to how well you understand and use Gemini. Today, I'm going to give you a full walkthrough of Gemini, showing you not only how to use all of its features, but how to get set up the right way to get the most out of it. We'll start by accessing Gemini on the web by coming to gemini.google.com. Now, of course, Gemini is a Google service, so as long as you are signed in on this browser to any of your Google services like Gmail or Calendar, you'll automatically be signed in on your Gemini account as well. And you can see that over here on the top right. If you're not signed in, go ahead and do that because you want to get the most out of Gemini. Now, before we actually start talking about how to use this or any of the settings, let's first talk about the different pricing plans. You can see those by clicking right here where it says upgrade. And here you'll see that Gemini has 4 different pricing plans: Free, Plus, Pro, and Ultra. Ultra is really for those 1% of super users, so that's probably not going to apply to you, so you can ignore that one. Now, I suggest you start on the free plan, of course, and then slowly move up as your needs increase. Most people are going to be fine on the free plan for a while, and I think a lot of people are also going to land on the Pro plan, which I think personally has the most value out of it for the price that you're paying. For most of this video, I'm going to be showing you how to set up and use Gemini on a free plan. Anytime you see this white background, that means I'm on my free Gemini account. Anytime you see this black background though, that is my Pro account. And I'm going to switch between the two because there are some features that are not available on the free plan that are available on the Pro plan. But let's start on a free Gemini account. Before we start using Gemini, let's go ahead and dive into the settings to get it set up the right way. So click on this gear icon on the bottom left. That will open up the settings menu. There are a lot of choices here. I'm only going to show you the ones that actually matter. And that starts with this one right here called Instructions for Gemini. In here, you will find eventually 2 different things. First, your custom instructions for Gemini. And second, anything that you want Gemini to learn and remember about you. So we're going to start out by actually setting up some custom instructions. And you can do that right here by clicking on Add. And this is how you can tell Gemini what you want it to remember and how you want it to interact with you. So for example, you can say things like, I prefer detailed answers with lots of examples and analogies. If I submit that, you'll see that that then appears right here as a custom instruction for Gemini. The more information that you're able to put in here, the better it's actually going to be at helping you because it's going to know what your style is and different things about you. So you can get quite elaborate with this. You can also add things about yourself. You can tell it your career, any dietary restrictions. I also tell it what devices I use, like an iPhone and a MacBook, so that if I'm troubleshooting some issue, it knows exactly how to hone in on like what the issue is, and it's not trying to like fix a problem on Windows when I don't even have a Windows computer. So I'll go ahead and submit those ones as well. Now, jumping over to my Pro plan, this is a little bit different on Pro because we now have this new thing called personal intelligence. And personal intelligence actually groups together the instructions for Gemini along with a couple of other features as well. The first one is past Gemini chats. So I would definitely toggle this on. This will allow Gemini to pull information and search past chats to give you more relevant responses. We also have those same instructions down here, instructions for Gemini. So opening this up, you see the same thing in here, but you can toggle this on or off. And then finally, we have connected apps in here. So in here, you have the ability to connect your different apps like Gmail, Docs, Google Keep, Google Drive, Google Calendar, your YouTube, search services. So anytime you use Google Search, Google Photos, even YouTube Music, and a bunch of other, or a few other ones as well down here. And so basically what this new personal intelligence does is that it will connect on its own all this different information from your past chats, information from your connected apps, information from your instructions. And it's able to connect the dots between all of those a lot better than you're going to get on the free plan. So personal intelligence is incredible. It works really well. So if you have it, I highly recommend that you do turn it on just the way that I showed you. Now, coming back to the free account, there is a connected app section right here, but it doesn't use personal intelligence, but it still works really well. And for the same reasons, I would go ahead and turn these on, because now with these turned on, you can actually ask Gemini to find information from your Gmail or your calendar or your drive. It's not going to work as well as personal intelligence, but it works pretty well. So I would go ahead and turn all of those on. And as far as the settings go, that is all you have to worry about. You don't have to dive in there really ever again, because in the future, if you ever want Gemini to remember something about you, you can just tell it. So I can say to it, remember that I have 2 dogs and no cats. You can see is now storing that personal information, and it was now saved to my info page. But clicking on that, you can see that it now added a new one here that says I have 2 dogs and no cats. Now, navigating on Gemini is very easy. At any point, if you want to return back to the home page, all you have to do is click on the top left here where it says Gemini. Over here on the left is the menu. You want to go ahead and click these 3 lines that will expand it. Clicking it again will collapse it. So if I go ahead and open it, you'll notice that there's a button right here that starts a new chat. So if you already have a chat that's open and you want a new one, just click right here where it says new chat. You can also click right here where it says temporary chat. You can sort of think of this as incognito mode. When you use a temporary chat, it's not going to show up in your recent chats. If you're on the paid subscriptions and you have personal intelligence, anything you type in here will not be used in the future for your personal intelligence either. In addition to that, nothing you type into a temporary chat will be used to train its models. Unlike other chatbots like ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity, you cannot really opt out of model training inside of Gemini. There is a way to do it, but if you opt out of model training, then it doesn't actually save your chats, which is extremely annoying. And you obviously want your chats to be saved so you can reference them in the future. So it really nerfs the entire Gemini experience if you opt out of model training. But if there's anything a little bit more private that you don't want to be used inside of the model training, that's when you would want to use a temporary chat. Now, moving along here on the left menu, the next thing down is My Stuff. You're not going to have anything in here right now, but as you begin to create images or different documents or different projects, you're going to see those show up right here. These are not your chats. These are the things that you've made with your chat. Below that are gems. We will talk about those later. And then you'll see all of your chats right here from your past history. For any of them, you can click on these 3 dots and pin them up here at the top, or you can click on those 3 dots and unpin them. You can also rename any chats, delete chats, or share any conversations. And then finally, up here is a search tool, so you can actually search your chats. But let's actually start using Gemini now. So obviously, this is a chatbot. So by coming into the box right here, you can ask it any questions that you want or have it help you collaborate on anything that you need. So for instance, I can ask it to help me write an email. I can start a new chat. I can ask it, what are the best hikes around a certain area, right? So basically anything that you can Google or anything you would ask another chatbot like ChatGPT, you can also use Gemini for. Now coming back to a new chat, I want to show you all these settings down here because this is really how you get Gemini to be more powerful. So first of all, there is a microphone button. This is extremely helpful. If you use this, you no longer have to type in here. Things will go much faster. So by clicking on this, it might ask you for permission first. There we go. And I'll click on allow while visiting this site. So it will always work. And now I could just use the microphone to type. What are the best ways to have Gemini help me with managing my Gmail inbox? And personally, this is my preferred way of interacting with Gemini just because I can talk a lot faster than I can type. Now moving along here on the left, you'll notice this drop down right here. This shows you all the different models. We have fast, we have thinking, and we have pro. Now pro is really only used for advanced math and coding. Most people aren't really going to get a lot of use out of that. So you should really just stick with fast and thinking. Now on a free plan, you will get unlimited access to fast and limited access to thinking. On a paid plan, you get a lot more access to thinking and a lot more access to pro. Now, personally, every time that I'm using Gemini, because I am using it on a paid account, I leave it on thinking to get the best results possible. But the fast results are still really good, and obviously you do get those answers a lot faster. And just to show you a comparison, when I have it on fast, this is how quickly you get an answer. Pretty quickly. And this is the type of answer that you get. And with thinking enabled, you will notice that it will take a little bit longer. This really depends on the prompt. This is a pretty simple one, so I don't think it's going to take too long. But if it was a much more elaborate prompt, it would take a lot longer. But you'll notice here that that did take a few more seconds, still pretty fast, which is the reason why I leave it on, but you get a better result with it. So if you're on the free plan, I would stick with fast for most questions or most prompts. But if you have something that requires a little bit more information that you need, or it's more important, I would switch it to thinking. I just wouldn't leave it on there all the time, or you will hit a limit on it. Now, moving along to the left, we have some tools here. So clicking on tools, the first one is called Deep Research. Now on the free plan, you can use Deep Research only a few times per month, but on the paid plans, you do get a lot more usage out of those, a lot more times that you can use them. Deep Research really creates these very dense, elaborate reports, and it takes several minutes for them to generate. For instance, here's what one of the reports looks like. You can see it is quite long and quite dense. It includes things like these different charts here. It includes things like graphs, different things like that. But for most people and most prompts, I think this is a bit overkill. This is really very dense material. You can see the writing here is very technical. It says the global automotive sector stands at a critical juncture, undergoing a fundamental transformation from internal combustion engine dominance to electrified propulsion. So I think for most people, this is really overkill unless you have like a real academic need or like a need for your business to have these very detailed reports. So given that, I will turn that off. Coming back into tools, you can also create images with this. Now, you can click tools and click on create images, but it's really not necessary. If you want to create an image, all you have to do is say, create an image and then tell it what you want, and it'll actually be able to create that image for you without you having to select create images inside the tools. The next tool is called Canvas. Canvas, I think, is way underutilized. I really love it. And by turning this on, what it does is it creates for you an interactive environment where you can work with Gemini on a project. This is really good for coding. It's really good for any type of writing as well. So for instance, if we turn back to my other example, where I asked Gemini to help me write an email, you can see that it created the email here in the chat. But if I'm going back and forth with Gemini on changes to this, that gets a little bit confusing because then I have to keep scrolling up and back down. It's a lot easier to go ahead and turn on Canvas. So I'm going to copy down this prompt. At any point, you can come to any message that you sent and click right here where it says copy prompt. And I'll go ahead and open up a new chat. I'm going to go ahead and paste that in, but this time I'm going to turn on Canvas and you'll see how different it looks. And for this one, I'll also turn on thinking. So you see this side section popped up and we have the email in here. So now what I can do is if there's something I don't like in here, I can actually change it right in here. And I can even highlight a section and say what changes I want Gemini to make to it. So I'll highlight this first sentence and say, I want to be a lot firmer here. And you can see she just updated now, or it just updated now that one sentence. If you don't like any changes, you can go ahead and click on previous version. That will then go back. If I decided that was wrong, I can go back to the next version. Of course, we have formatting things up here as well, like bolding, italicizing, different things like that. If you're happy with this, you can go ahead and click on share and export and actually copy the contents. You can export it to your Google Docs. And there's a share button here where you actually get a link to share it as well. There's also this create button right here. So what this does is that this will turn this content into different content. So the first one is a web page. If I go ahead and click on that, it will actually create a web page from this material. You can also create infographics, quizzes, flashcards, and audio overviews. So this is really helpful for when like you're studying. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to come back to a new chat. I'm going to ask it to create a study guide for learning German. Just like before, under tools, I'm going to turn on Canvas. And for the model for this one, I'm going to turn on thinking. Now, when I submit this, you'll see that on the right, it's creating the entire German study guide for me. But of course, this is just text. And for a lot of people, this isn't the optimal way of learning. A lot of you are visual learners. So what I'm going to do is on the top right here under create, I'm going to ask it to turn it into an infographic. Just by clicking that, you now see on the left that is getting to work and creating an image, an infographic, based on all the information that it put together for us here. Here's what it now came up with. You can see that infographic here on the right. Now, if you want to make any changes to this, all you have to do is click right here where it says select and ask. We'll go ahead and highlight like this text up here and say change the title, make it friendlier, for instance. And there it just updated the title to something that is literally more friendly. Once you're happy with something like this, you can of course share it or copy the contents. Now, one downside of creating infographics inside of here is that if you click the copy button, all you're actually copying is the code. So it's actually pretty difficult to download the actual image, which is a drawback of creating infographics inside of Canvas. So if you're going to make an infographic that you want to share, I really recommend you do that in the normal chat without Canvas turned on. So I came in here, I started a new chat. Again, you can always start a new chat by clicking on the left here where it says new chat, even if the menu bar is collapsed. And this time I'm not going to turn on Canvas. I'm just going to ask it to create an infographic about the topic that I'm interested in. Then using the image generation tool, it will create that infographic for you, and you can then download that as an image. Now, I want to navigate back now to my Canvas where I was working on learning German. So to do that, I'll click on the menu bar on the left here to expand it, and I'll find that chat in the side here. I think it was this one right here. And now we're back and we have the Canvas open again. Now, when you start using Canvas, you'll notice that as you start to generate more assets, like maybe an audio overview or some more files or infographics, the chat can get quite cluttered and you kind of have to scroll around if you want to return to the original document that we made. So to fix that, they added this button up here on the top right called Files in this chat. By clicking on that, you're going to see everything that you created in this chat. So we first have that German study guide, which was the text. And then we also have the infographic that was made. This button also shows up in regular chats as well. So if we come over to this one that I did a few days ago, you'll notice that I have a lot of images in this chat. And by clicking on the Files in Chat button, you'll see all those images here. I think I could honestly make an entire video dedicated to just Canvas and all the things that you can do with it, but I think it's time to move on. But if that would interest you, let me know in the comments section down below and I'll make an entirely separate video just on Canvas. But let me now show you guided learning. This is pretty cool. This is really helpful if you're a student. So this is where you want to type in anything that you're looking to learn. So maybe you're studying for the bar exam and you can type in, I'm studying for the bar exam, help me learn contract law for New York. Now I'm going to switch this to fast because as you see down here, I've hit the thinking limit on the free plan. So I'll no longer be able to use thinking until it resets in a few hours. And here it begins to talk with you almost as if it's a tutor. It talks about what it's like to study for the bar exam and how you should go about it. And then asks you some questions. What is it that you want to study? So I want to study contract formation. So I'll type in 1. It then introduces the concept to me, the key concepts from it. And then it asks me a question to make sure that I understand it. So it's going to be all this sort of back and forth. Again, it almost acts like a tutor. The final tool here inside my free plan is called Visual Layout. Now this is a labs feature. It's not going to be available to everyone, but it is available on some accounts. Basically what this does is it gives you answers, but it creates a more visual answer. So for example, I might ask it, what are the most popular dogs in the United States? And you see, it's not just giving a text answer, it's actually giving this entire visual layout where it shows the top dog up here, literally a little blurb about it, an image of it. Here are the other breeds down here, and you can scroll through this. It's like a carousel, some more stuff down here, and it even references YouTube videos, and then sort of like some follow-up questions that you can give it. Compare that to the normal results, the same exact question, where it's completely text-based. You do get sometimes charts like this, or like I showed you before when I asked for hikes, it did produce a map as well, but this obviously is a lot more visually appealing. This does take a little bit longer to load. So personally, I rarely use this. I usually go with it off. And if there's like a very specific reason why I want a visual layout, then I would turn it on. Pro tip, if at any point you submit a prompt and you realize you entered it incorrectly, or you didn't quite get the results that you wanted, instead of starting a new chat, you can just scroll up to the question you asked and edit that prompt. So here, I originally asked what are the most popular dogs in the United States, and then I said, what about in Europe? But I meant to ask Asia. So I can just change this to Asia, click on update, and then it will give me a new answer based on that prompt that was edited. Just know that you can only ever edit the last prompt in a chat. If I scroll up to the original one, there's no way for me to edit it. So those are all the tools that are available on the free plan. There's one additional one on the pro plan, which is create videos. Again, you don't actually have to expressly press this button. You can just tell it create a video and tell it what you want the video about, and it will make it for you. There are also some additional tools that are available on the Ultra plan, but I'm not going to cover those in this video. The last thing here inside the chatbot is add files. So you can upload files, things like images you can upload, screenshots, PDFs, Word documents. You can also add anything you have inside your Google Drive. You can add anything from your photos, and you can attach any Notebook LM notebooks. If you're not familiar with Notebook LM, you can easily access it by clicking on the settings down here and click on Notebook LM. And this is a place where you can organize different categories of items. So you can create a new notebook for every topic that you're interested in. In this account, I only have 2, but in my other account, I literally have dozens and dozens of different notebooks on different topics that I'm interested in. I'm not going to dive in depth into how to use Notebook LM, but just know that inside of here, you can store all these different sources. And then inside of Gemini, you can actually click on Notebook LM, click on that notebook, and then it'll be able to pull in all the information from that notebook. So a really good workflow is to use Notebook LM to organize and store different information inside these different notebooks. And then to be able to interact with them, one way you can do it is by adding it inside of here. And then you can say something like, create a training guide to help me do a one-armed pull-up. It's going to pull information from this notebook to do that. I could even for this one, maybe turn on Canvas. That way we can kind of really dial this in to get the exact results you want. And there we go. Now I'm about to show you one of the most powerful features inside of Gemini, but before we do that, if you've made it this far in the video and you got some value out of it so far, do me a quick favor, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I'm constantly releasing tutorials just like this on some of the best AI tools out there. So if you don't want to miss out on that, make sure you subscribe. One of the most powerful features of Gemini are their gems. You can find these over here on the left where it says gems. Now there are 2 types of gems. We're going to start with the basic ones that you make yourself. So you want to scroll down to where it says My Gems and click on New Gem. Now, what these are used for, well, there's a few use cases for them, but one of the first use cases of them is, let's say you find yourself coming into the chat every day or every week and giving it the same instructions every single time. Maybe it's helping you write emails and you always want them formatted in a certain way. So you just keep writing out the same instructions over and over and over again. Well, instead of doing that, you can set up a gem. So coming back in here to a new gem, we'll give this one a name. We'll call it Email Helper. You can then describe what this email helper does. This is just basically internal. The name and the description doesn't actually change what the gem does. It's just for your reference. So I'll say here, helps me with emails. Now here is where you can put in your custom instructions. These are going to apply to every chat that you do inside this gem. So the more detailed this is, the better the results are going to be. So if you just say something simple like, help me with my emails, it's not super useful. So you really want to elaborate on this. Now, if you're getting stuck on that, there's this button right here. If you go ahead and click on this, that will automatically take your very short prompt and expand it. You then want to go through and actually edit the new prompt that was created or the new instructions that were created to make sure they're exactly the way that you want. Great. So I went ahead and did that. And now I'm ready to move on to the next setting, which are the default tools. So we've already covered all these different tools. So you want to make sure you turn on any of ones that you actually want to be used every time you chat with the chat inside this gem. So in this case, because we're working on emails, I actually do want to turn on the canvas, so that every time I have it write an email for me, that email will show up in the canvas. And finally, you can also upload knowledge into your gem as well. This is the other very useful situation when you want to use gems, because this will allow you to actually upload a knowledge into this gem that will always be there every time you enter this gem, so you don't have to continually come in here and upload the same files over and over again. So just like before with the regular chat, you can upload files, Google Drive, photos, or Notebook LM research material. For instance, let's say you work for a company that has a standard operating procedure for how they want their emails written, and they actually give you a downloadable PDF on what that entire guide is. You could upload that file into here so that that can then become part of this knowledge base. Or alternatively, let's say you do customer service and you work for a SaaS company. You might get a lot of questions about how to use the software, where you can upload all the documentation on how to use the software, all the different help guides, so that will then be able to easily answer those questions for you. Once you're happy with the settings, you can test the gem over here on the right. So for instance, I'll throw an email in here, go ahead and submit it, and we can see the answer right here. It activated the canvas, and then here is the email that it wrote out for me. So if I'm happy with this, I can just click on save and be done with it. But let's say I look at this and I notice that they do this bullet list, or this list of different items that are numbered, and I don't like that. Well, then I can come over here into the instructions and say something like, never use numbered lists, and then click away, and that will then load it. And so now if I ask it the same question, it won't use a numbered list. Once you have it completely the way that you like, go ahead and click on save. Now, anytime I have an email, I can just come over here to the gems, click on the email helper, paste in that email, and my gem will start working on that email using the custom instructions from the gem and using all the tools that I told it to use, which in this case is the canvas. If you ever need to edit your gem, just come over here on the left where the gem is, click on these three dots and click on edit. You could also pin a gem so that it will stay here, because if you notice, on this account, I actually have so many gems that all of them don't appear over here on the left. I think you could only see 5 of them, and it'll show the most recent one. So if you want to make sure that one of them never disappears, just go ahead and pin it. You could also delete them at any time. You can access them again by clicking on gems and scrolling down to where all your gems are located. So those are my gems, but you may also have access to this feature up here called Gems Made by Labs. Again, this is a more experimental feature, so it's not going to be available on all the accounts, but it is available for me on this free account. And what these basically are little apps that you can make inside of Gemini. So here's an example of one of them. It's an app that takes an image of different food items and then identifies what those ingredients are and then suggests a recipe based on those ingredients. And you can see all the steps of this gem over here on the left. Now, you can go ahead and click start and actually use this as an app. But the real important thing here is that you can make these little apps yourself. So coming back again to gems, go ahead and click on new gem here if it's available to you, and you can start designing your AI mini app. So here I'll ask it to create a task management app specifically for YouTubers. And in less than a minute, this app is now ready to go. I can go ahead and click and start and actually try it out. And what's unique about these apps is that it actually uses Gemini AI to power them. So they're not dumb apps, they're AI powered apps. And as you're testing this out, if there's something you don't like about it, you can just come over here on the left and actually ask Gemini to edit the app to make it exactly the way that you want. This is another one of those tools that I could honestly spend an entire video talking about because there's so many things that you can do with these gems from Labs. Let's now talk about some more advanced features. Now I've gone ahead and switched over to my Pro account because we're going to do some image editing. You could definitely do this on the free account, but like I said before, I hit the thinking limit on my free plan. And when it comes to any type of image generation or image editing, it does help to do that with thinking turned on. You're going to get better results. So I'm going to go ahead and upload an image of myself by going to upload files. And then I'll tell it to turn this into a professional LinkedIn ready profile photo. Now you don't have to click on create image. It's going to be smart enough to realize that what I'm asking it to do is to edit this image. I'll have thinking turned on and click on submit. And there we go. Now we have a LinkedIn ready profile image. Another thing I want to show you is image to video. Again, this is only going to be available on the paid plans because video generation is only available on the paid plans. One tip when it comes to creating videos is because you are so limited in the number of videos that you can create, it really helps to first create the image that you want to be for the video. So for instance, I wanted a video of a dog skydiving. Instead of actually asking it to create the video first, I had to create the image first. So once I'm happy with the image, I'll go ahead and click on copy. I'll then go ahead and start a new chat and paste that in. For the tools, I will turn on create videos and just tell it use this as a start frame for a video. And then here's what it made for us. Pretty good. But as you see right here, I can now only generate 2 more videos today. Be aware of these pop-ups because like I said, there are limits on things like video generation. A few other things I want to show you here on the web. So when we first set things up, I showed you how you can connect your apps. To actually use that, all you have to do is inside of a chat, reference them. So I can say something like, when are we going to LA? Check my Gmail, because I know I've received an email talking about the dates that I'm actually going to be in Los Angeles. Here you can see it's actually now connecting to my Gmail. And here you can see it tried, it wasn't successful. It saw that I had a trip to Fort Lauderdale back in 2018. It wasn't able to find the upcoming trip to LA. But what you will notice is that if you are on the paid plan, which has that personal intelligence, it will be better. So that same question here, you probably will get the right response. The final thing I want to show you, which is only available on the paid plans, are these scheduled actions. These are extremely helpful. If you go ahead and click on this, this will allow you to schedule out recurring tasks. So let's say every day you want Gemini to scan for certain news on a certain topic. You can just come over to a chat and tell it something like, every day at 6 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, look for the latest AI news from the past 24 hours. And you can see it is now scheduled that out for me. So coming back over here to scheduled actions, you can see that that now appears right here. If I ever want to change it, I can just click on the pencil icon, or I can toggle it off if I don't want to get those anymore. But if you have it turned on, then every time it runs, you'll get a notification about it in the mobile app on your phone. Speaking of which, let's jump over to that. Now, the experience on mobile is going to be very similar to the experience that you get on the web app. Obviously, having it on your phone is a lot more convenient, so you can access it from anywhere. But there are also 3 additional things in here that really stand out. So first of all, there's a camera. So if you ever need to know what something is, you can just go ahead and open that up, take a picture of it, just go ahead and send it and ask, what is this? This is also really helpful for translations. If you're traveling somewhere and it's in a different language, like all the different signs, it will actually be able to translate those signs for you as well. Second thing is on this tool menu, if you have a pro plan and you have access to videos, there is this new template section right here that you can use as templates for your videos, which is kind of fun. But again, you are very limited on the number of videos that you can create. But the standout feature here is this button right here. This allows you in real time to chat with Gemini. This is extremely helpful when you're driving, when you're just out for a walk. A lot of times, like while I'm cooking, I'll just leave this and start talking with Gemini, learning about a new subject. So let me show you how it works. I'll click on this. Tell me about that guy, Alex, who likes to free solo mountain climb.
Alex Honnold is a professional adventure rock climber, famous for his audacious free soloism.
What has he climbed?
He's climbed quite a bit. Besides El Capitan, he's known for numerous significant ascents, including half domes, regular.
Now, another really cool thing that you can do with this is that, let's go ahead and turn this on, is that you can at any time actually activate the camera as well. So I'll go ahead and turn on the camera. What is this and what can I use it for?
That's an Allen wrench, also known as a hex key. You can use it to turn and tighten or loosen.
And then once you end the chat, you'll see all of the stuff you talked about in here. It's absolutely one of my favorite features. And I just love how I can just kind of set this aside, just be chatting with it and learn these new topics when I'm driving, when I'm walking, when I'm cooking. It's incredibly useful. So there you have it. That's Gemini. Hopefully now you understand how to use this the right way so that you can get the best results out of it instead of just throwing questions at it and hoping for a good response. Now, right here is a video that covers another tool that I absolutely love called Notebook LM. And what I love about that tool is that it's not only incredibly powerful, but it's also free. If you want to learn about how it works, click on this video right here, and I'll see you over there in just 1 second. Bye for now.